Feels like 50 years.
All right, welcome everybody to the October 6, 2025 meeting of the Barnstable Open Space Committee. Before we start, I just need to read a notice of recording. This meeting of the Open Space Committee is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel in accordance with Mass General laws. I must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. Okay, let me just start with introductions. I'm your chair, Lev Malakoff. I'm from Centerville.
I'm Doug Payson from Barnstable Village.
Dave Gorrell from Centerville.
Chris Clark, Town Council Liaison.
Kate Gulliver from Hyannis.
Farley Lewis, Hyannisport. Jenna Zeno, Administrative Assistant.
And we have some guests here today.
Yes.
We can.
Kyle Pedicini from the Planning Department.
Kelly Grant from Barnstable Land Trust.
Joe Diggs from Osterville.
Priscilla Liberty, West Barnstable.
And Sharon Harrison from.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask if our committee has a chance to review the minutes, and if so, would make a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. I'm gonna just move one item up since we have some guests here tonight in the public comment. So I believe, Sharon, you would be addressing the committee?
Yes.
On an issue of concern regarding open space in Osterville.
Yes. So I'm going to start and then I'm going to give it to my brother because he's much savvier in saying it. Okay. But my name is Sharon Harrison, Sharon Diggs Harrison, and I live right here. It's been our family property for over 60 years. My grandparents, this was their cottages, of which Joe has now. So I am here because, and I brought this, because I had brought this to the town council. Okay, this person was behind me, and having an industrial business. And it's made havoc. It's not, the area is not a resident. He's now stopped doing his business. However, we still have residuals of what's going to happen to this property. And that's why I'm here today, because I need some assistance. This building, which is right here, this building, okay, was put up. Okay. This building was put up, okay, and it's a 5-bay garage, okay, and it was put in such a way that it annihilated the ancient way that's behind my house.
Can you
Okay.
point to it on that map, please?
I'll do the best I can. So this is me, and so the ancient way comes down and it goes across. Okay, it goes over to here and it goes,
I don't think you can touch the screen.
Yes.
It's,
it goes over, it goes all the way into the center of Osterville. Okay, so I'm a walker. I love walking around in not only Osterville, but all of Barnstable and Dennis and everything. And I love how the meandering of the paths into the neighborhood, it's a very soothing type of thing, okay? And I want this for my neighborhood, okay? And that's why I'm here, okay? How to correct getting back the ancient way here that connects Bumps River Road all the way to the rest of Osterville, okay? And just saying that, I'll let my brother now talk about his part.
Thanks. Joe Diggs. Just to clarify a little bit what she's saying, the ancient ways, this is the Darby property that we're talking about. So we're talking about the Darby property, the 500 square or whatever acres around Micah's, Joshua's, and Sam's. It's where they used to have the throughway to the pond off of Oakville Avenue that they changed and put it over on Pond. So it's this would be pond. that's the road that we're talking about, Oakville Avenue, which is what she's pointed out, all right? The thing that's odd about this map is it's showed by purple, like all the property lines, but for whatever reason, it's not showing the continuation of the trail that goes around, which is it was either Ice House Road or one of those names, the original, when there was the Ice House around Joshua's. So that's where that fits. And then Josh Lumbert Road is this road here that connects all the way to Bumps River Road. Craig Coombs owns the property on the right-hand side right next to it. That was one road, so it was always a triangle. So that now what's unfortunately happened is because this trail is no longer, there's been a fence built and some garbage that was left behind has blocked the trail and it's all overgrown. So now everyone walks through my property to get back onto the trail around the properties. So I'm nice enough to tell them how to get around, because if you walk, you've already been around 3/4 of the property. So it's almost like telling somebody to go back is cruel. So I say, help yourself, got right through here and go around. But the truth of it all is it should be marked like all of the rest of the properties are on the other side, the Audubon Society, and it should be just labeled out, and people should have a nice clean path to walk down.
This is a public comment section, so we're not really in deliberation mode here, but if anybody wants to ask any questions, to get anything clarified as far as understanding.
I have a question. With the ancient way, have you spoken to the town to determine if the public has developed rights to that ancient way because they openly and notoriously used it for more than 20 years?
No, we haven't. And prior to this, one of our conversations was, because we have used that property for over 30 to 40 years prior to this happening. So we assumed that everything was okay the way that it was, because no one was ever able to build across an ancient way. That was the laws, how we knew it. Also, being a pre-existing non-conforming entity that I am, I've got to verse myself on this stuff pretty well, because I do know that I fall in between a couple of these issues. So, back in the day when they were doing the layout, it was all on a rock and a stone and a spear, so it's changed a lot. We understand that. So the property lines, I'm sure, have shifted somewhat, but because the ancient ways were the one thing that we could hold on to know that they've always been true, to see him block the ancient way was just, it sent up red flags right away. And I actually said to him, I don't know, he actually said that the property he owns like 4 feet away from Sharon's house, where we grew up in. And I'm like, if that's the way it is, then it doesn't make sense. But more importantly, the easement situation from the ancient way might have been the reason why we were allowed to do what we were allowed to do. But whatever the situation, it would still allow us to have that as our property, because we've operated for over 40 years. But we're just trying to find a nice way to make the trail come back so that people can keep the flow going and we can have some peace in the neighborhood, because
Be attractive.
we don't have a problem with the Meagers. I know the guys. They're not bad guys. I miss Mike, but overall we're all in the community. They wouldn't do this in where they live, but they would do this in our neighborhood. But unfortunately, that's the way it goes sometimes.
When did they build the 5-bay?
I'm not really sure.
About 3 years,
It does
4
say,
years.
it says on that picture that it's 2016, okay? But I honestly have to say that, when you're a person, my mother was elderly, okay? And we thought, and I've had homes in different places, that if there's an easement, if there's a conversation that needs to be had, then you ask for it, but nothing was ever asked for, okay? Nothing was never asked for, but then this thing was erected, and it's just been a process of taking away of the neighborhood.
Well, it looks like it's too close to the property line anyway. There should
I don't understand how it happened,
Yeah.
okay? I really,
There's the question, is really, how did it happen? That was, and I asked, I really, because like I said, I'm a personal friend of Mike's, I went up to him, I said, Mike, you're so close to the property, how are you doing that anyways? I said, maybe you and Timmy could talk about moving that over to the right a little bit. I swear to you, I think they moved it a little bit further to the left just because I said something. I mean, that's just how I feel about it, but that's kind of what we deal with sometimes around, when people want to be bullies, they do what they do, and then they turn around and say, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, Chris, did you have something?
Well, you have to move the building.
And I appreciate you coming forward and explaining, and especially bringing the information that you did, or support information. This strikes me as an enforcement problem, and I can bring it to the attention of the town. I know that there's awareness, and I appreciate that you brought this before the town council as well. So I'll follow up on that and see where it's going. I know that the town has taken a lot of time and brought a lot of expertise to address property encroachment on another parcel, not yours. And it takes the surveyor, the town surveyor, the legal department, asset management, conservation. It draws on a lot of professional support to substantiate the town's claim. And from my point of view, the residents of our town at one time put the investment in to protect that as open space, and we shouldn't have to pay to protect it again. It was already done. So I'll follow up with the town manager and get back to you.
Thank
okay,
you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we do have a big agenda. I don't know if there's any other questions.
I
We're
would
not
ask-
gonna, we're
I
not
would-
gonna be able to vote or take any decisions right now.
I would ask one question of Kyle, is the Darby property, was it specifically reserved as conservation land?
I'd have to look into it a bit further.
No.
No? So it's general use then?
So in order to finish, there was a couple of people on the board who would not okay it unless they threw this general use purpose into it. This is I've been through this, so, and that was really that's the key to this whole thing. That's why it keeps coming back for the possibility of affordable homes, to try to slide that into it. But of course, that would help the generation, that fights the whole generational wealth situation of equity that's happening in our country anyways, whether you believe in it or not. That's how that goes down. I try to explain that we do have redlining here on Cape Cod. We do have those issues, those very issues, and it's happening right in front of our face right now. This is what we're dealing with.
The issue would be, though, that those properties abut the pond,
Right.
and there would want to be a higher level of protection
Yes.
for those properties in close
For the
proximity.
water and everything,
For
just for
protection
so
of-
many
it's-
reasons.
It's an all
The wild-
aquifer
the
area, so it's
wildlife.
very important. It's very, very important piece of property. And I even do my best on making sure that I don't use a lot of chemicals on the property. That's just how I handle the situation, because I'm an artist and I try to think about these things. But on the other side, we are like I said, pre-existing non-conforming entity. So we're constantly working towards being more up to, today's standards that we have to. Those things can be so expensive that some of the situations that could happen in the future might need town assistance to make everything happen anyways, knowing with the septic issues that you have in our town anyways. There's a whole bunch of things that this can touch on. But with that in mind, I am thinking about all those things when I sit here and talk to this council or anybody else, because it's my job.
So I thank you for your time. Okay, I don't want to.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's go to our new business items. We have Kelly Grant from Barnstable Land Trust, looking at possible approval of a conservation restriction
Blue jean
for
shirt.
755 Lombard Mill Road.
Yeah.
Sure.
They
Oh, are they selling it
online on our
There's
store
a
at the
little
moment.
pop-up shop online.
I was
Oh,
looking at it earlier.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Kelly, take it away.
Thank you. So this evening I have for you a conservation restriction on a property at 755 Lambert Mill Road. Oh, thank you. for review and a letter of support for town council approval. This project's a little different to the other projects that I've brought to you recently because this is a private property owner who is wanting to place a conservation restriction on the undeveloped portion of their property. And I'll show a map here. So you can see, just for context, where the property is on Lambert Mill Road within the wellhead protection area. So she's motivated to preserve the undeveloped portion of her property just to kind of preserve the scenic character of the neighborhood, but also for drinking water protection and to protect some wildlife habitat there as well. And so there is a existing house on the property, which is where this landowner lives, and that area is just under an acre is being excluded from the conservation restriction. So the restriction just covers the back portion. The whole property is, I believe, 6.68 acres, and the conservation restriction area is 5.88 portion of that property. So I submitted the conservation restriction to you for review. I just wanted to run through the standard prohibited acts and uses are standard as you would see in the other conservation restrictions that we've presented to you with regard to structures and improvements, introduction of invasive species, subdivision of the land. So all of those things that you would typically see are prohibited on the undeveloped portion of this property. And then within the permitted acts and uses, again, pretty standard, allowing for some trail maintenance on the property. There is an existing trail that goes through from the back of the property out to the ancient way that borders the western property boundary there between this property and the school. And there is also, this property was historically an agricultural use, small-scale agricultural use. I believe it was used as raising pigs, pig farming, but also used as a stable for horses and some other animals. So there is an existing shed / barn. It's kind of like a stable area, so it's not a big barn, but it's like a single level, but it has like 2 stall space in it. And there is a fenced-in area. But the property hasn't been used for that purpose in quite a long time, so it's just very overgrown and the building is starting to kind of fall apart a little bit. And it is the property owner's intention to abandon that agricultural use. You would prefer to see that the land is protected and left in a natural state. So the intention is to allow the shed to remain and be used for storage at this point, but once it's reached its end of life, it would be removed along with any fencing that's there, and then the area would just be allowed to be left in its natural state. As this is a conservation restriction on private property, the landowner has not granted public access in this instance, and that's quite typical of what we see on a private property, and so that is the case for this one as well. And I think that is pretty much everything. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
So we just had a landowner forum recently, and it was very interesting topics that I learned about. In Barnstable, there's a tax credit of 75%. A private landowner puts part of the land in that portion of land into conservation restriction.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things. There's the state tax credit, which is where a landowner can get up to $75,000 as a tax credit, which is effectively a check to them when they file their tax return for a gift of conservation land. But yes, there's also the local benefit where the assessed value, I believe, is reduced by 75% if you place a conservation restriction on your property. So it reduces your property taxes that you would pay.
So just sharing the information with the committee, there's also a 90% credit if they were to allow public access.
Right.
And the fact that you're mentioning there's a trail on the property, I thought it was very interesting looking at the map. We have the school system on the west western side of this whole area and the neighborhood to the east, if there ever became an opportunity to have a trail that people could get to school without walking on the road through the woods. I thought it'd be worth exploring if possible, and whether the landowner has been approached to look at the 90% option.
Yeah, so the difficulty, I guess, is that the part of the property that's excluded from the conservation restriction is right on the street there, and so to have public access, you would effectively having a trail pass right by their house. There's not really a lot of space around the house to retain their privacy. I guess in the future, if it was no longer used for that residential use, but at the moment she wanted to retain the privacy of not having a trail go right past her house.
Question. I was just wondering about, since the CR will be granted to BLT, and it looks as though you're also going to be responsible for monitoring the property. Is that, it seems to me quite often that, you know, you have somebody else besides the landowner or the CR holder monitor the property.
So the way it works is that whoever owns the property is responsible for managing the property. So in this case, it's the private landowner still owns the property and they're responsible for the management of the property. The entity that's granted the conservation restriction, so in this case Barnstable Land Trust, are responsible for monitoring the CR. That's their part of their responsibility by holding the conservation restriction. They have to monitor it annually. So in the instance for the other projects where BLT own a property and they grant a conservation restriction to the town, BLT are responsible for managing that property day to day as the owners, but the town is actually responsible for monitoring the CR to make sure that the values within that CR are upheld on that property. So it's whoever the entity that's being granted the conservation restriction, they're responsible for monitoring just to make sure that there's no violations of that conservation restriction.
I know, it just seems as though it's a little too close, you know, in terms of getting an unbiased, you know, monitoring.
Well, that's kind of the role of the conservation restriction.
Right.
So yeah, the conservation restriction removes the right to do these things, and by holding that restriction, the land trust has to enforce it. They have the obligation to enforce it.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? I would entertain a motion.
I have to say that I think your question about the school is relevant, and I wouldn't be surprised if that came up at the town council meeting. I hear what you said, I'm just saying that was a good question to explore and have on the record.
Just mechanically, so the monitoring, you would have to get permission from the residents that you're gonna pass through their property to go and check on
Yeah,
it?
so within the conservation restriction, it covers all of that in terms of we are, through the conservation restriction, granted the right to access the property for monitoring.
Okay.
So, yeah,
You have to coordinate so you don't surprise
right, we have to
them.
provide them with notice that we're coming and, yeah, but we're obligated to do that annually.
And that could,
I have another question. Is there a fence between the property of the landowner and the school?
No, it's that ancient way that,
I saw it, yeah.
yeah, you saw that on the plan? Yeah, so, and that, I think, is a fairly well-used ancient way for access to the school as well from both ends. So, you know, that in itself is providing some great public access, and kind of by preserving this open space along that ancient way. I think it's kind of important open space on its own, just, you know, rather than it being a developed stretch where people are walking, it creates more of a natural walking environment for people along that route.
I guess my concern is is there any concern from the landowner or from Barnstable Land Trust that kids might stray off, in the backyard or other foot traffic?
And there's no fence there hasn't been a fence there, and it hasn't been an issue, and there is a trail, that goes from the ancient way to this person's house, and they haven't had any issues, so, I'm assuming it will continue to not be an issue, yeah.
Okay, so are we at the point of a motion?
Motion to extend the letter.
So the motion would be to support the
Yeah, to provide a letter of support for the town
letter,
council approval
from this
of the.
committee
To recommend approval.
to the town council.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Um,
Abstentions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Now to our very important topic, we're going to look at the open space recreation plan. Kyle will guide us through our discussion. Everyone had hopefully chance to review the many documents that were sent to us last week. And take it away, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle Pedicini from the Planning Department. This is going to be more of kind of an update than an exercise. So everybody should have all of the public comment and community engagement from our initial wave of community engagement that was sent out. So that's really for you guys to review between now and your next meeting, which will be on the 20th. We're meeting with our consultants later this week, and I'm going to impress upon them the urgency of getting drafts to us as soon as possible so we can get them back to you guys. So I'm going to try to, so at the very least, you'll have a week ahead of time before your 20th. So I'm going to try to get it. I've told them I want it by the 13th draft, so you guys will have a week in advance to look at the drafts before your next meeting on the 20th. So we're really looking at your next two meetings on the 20th and the 27th. As reviewing the drafts and making sure we're comfortable and approving that to be put out to the public for our second community meeting. We're looking at a date of Wednesday, November 19th at 6 p.m. So again, that's November 19th at 6 p.m. for that second community meeting where we're hoping to present the draft plan to the public after we get your guys' blessing on those next two meetings on the 20th and 27th. And when we get the drafts from the consultant, again, by the latest on the 13th, when we send them out to you, we'll also be sending out to members of the Planning Board, the Conservation Commission, and the Recreation Commission for their initial comments and feedback. I'll tell them, get that to me, and I'll share them with you, so you guys have those ready at your next meeting. And then they'll also they'll be presented the final draft after we get through any sort of edits after our second meeting. Those three entities will also basically vote to support a final draft before it goes to town council. So we have our timeline in place. I think we have a pretty good plan for how this will play out the rest of the year. We're still on track, which is good. So again, you guys have all the public engagement right now. I would just recommend over the next couple weeks taking a look at those. Once we get the draft plan, our charge is really going to be, have we heard the public correctly? Did everything that we heard in our community engagement, is it reflected in the plan? And that's really your guys collectively our charge together to make sure that the draft, we're comfortable putting it back out to the public saying this is what we heard directly from you guys. So that's basically update on the open space plan. Happy to answer any questions.
Kyle, I had voiced a concern at the last meeting that we were attempting to reach out. We had interpretive services for Brazilian Portuguese, Spanish,
which will also be available at the next
Haitian
meeting.
Creole, and French, and no one came from those communities. And part of our mission is to reach out to underserved communities, and we're not getting input from those folks.
Yeah, so if you guys have any suggestions, we've reached out to the Brazilian Resource Center, we've reached out to all the kind of community leaders that we know of to try to distribute notice to their communities. We've taken steps we thought would work towards that end. But if anybody on this community has any suggestions, or anybody in your networks that you'd like to share word, please do. It's word of mouth is the best way to spread word. The town can send stuff out, and eventually people just block out town notifications when they get too many. The best way to get people to come to a meeting is neighbor to neighbor, you saying you should come. So
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay. How do I get to see it?
The plan,
Yeah.
so we don't have a drafted plan yet, but that's what we're gonna be presenting to the public on the 19th. And we'll be putting it out online in advance of that, so people have a chance to look at it before they come to the meeting on the 19th. So this group will hopefully be approving a draft to go out to the public on the 27th.
But once that plan is, can it still be tweaked?
Yeah, that's what we're
Okay,
putting out.
that's what I'm kind of looking and
Yeah.
asking, okay? Because I did go to the one in Osterville. That's how I started becoming familiar with everybody, okay, and with regarding my land. So I am very interested in hearing the plan, but I'm
Yeah.
also hoping it's still loose enough.
Oh, yeah,
that we can-
absolutely. That's the whole point of the meeting on the 19th, to get, public, we have to bring some sort of plan to the table to get comments on, but it's
Sure.
absolutely still moldable at that point.
I have a question. If the consultants have already been working on updating the data,
Yep,
are there any trends that we?
I haven't seen any of their materials yet.
Because I'm curious, how,
Yeah.
what should we be paying attention
Right.
to?
Well, stay tuned. By the end of this week, hopefully, we'll have a draft to share.
It's quite a process.
Oh, it is. I think we've done a pretty good job so far, though. But yeah, still, we're about halfway through, so
Perhaps
still some work to be done.
if you could look, when you receive the information back from the consultants, perhaps you could bullet some flags for us.
Okay.
Say, changes from the 2018
Yep.
plan looks like, or how do the changes in this interval, how do they look compared to the last interval? I think that might be, we're getting close to build out, so
Yep.
I'm imagining that could tell a
Yep,
story.
absolutely. Yep, happy to do a kind of a general summary of the changes.
Do they, if they've been evaluating like uses of all these different facilities? Like we had all these surveys and they're not scientific per se, because it's just whoever responded or whoever showed up at the meeting. So you're hearing from a small
Right.
sliver of our constituencies. But, some of the facilities that we're talking about here, there's maybe a lot of people use them but don't answer surveys. So-
Yeah, I mean, that's where we've also had staff feedback, so hopefully staff feedback colors some of that as well. But yeah, they are, working off of the general public feedback, but they also they go on the Mass GIS and they look at all the different assets that the state identifies and do analysis of that stuff as well. So it's kind of, they're supposed to kind of crystallize it all into the plan, so. So yes, that stuff should be taken into consideration.
Anybody else have anything on the topic? We'll move on then to fall walking weekend.
While I'm here, I might as well give you an update on the sign project, if you don't mind, or?
Sure.
So that request is scheduled to go before the CPC at their next meeting on the 20th. So Alice Marcus Krieg, our grants coordinator, will be presenting that then on the 20th. It's gonna be for $4,500 for 30 signs. And the idea is that DPW will be doing the installation in-house. And the idea is to get 18 of them installed by the end of this year in the fall, and then the 12 remaining in the spring. So we have 30 signs on the list, $4,500. They're gonna be made and installed internally. But that's the plan we have now, so the next CPC meeting, hopefully they appropriate the money and we can get going.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And then Cape Cod Pathways, I don't have any additional updates left beyond what we had discussed.
Well, maybe.
I don't know if you want me to jump in.
If you're needing to get out, we can switch these two topics real quickly.
Yeah.
So Cape Cod Pathways, sorry, we're messing up the minutes. So Councilor Clark and I and the chair of the CPC and Kyle met with asset management to talk about the roles of this committee and the staff in the plan for Cape Cod Pathways, which had been originally produced in 2003. Lots has gone on since then. So we're talking about the roles of our different entities. And also looking at a couple other items, and Kyle has been, I guess, helping us, or has been helping us trying to identify the private land issues. So the route that's in the current Cape Cod Pathways plan had some private concerns that hadn't been totally addressed, especially we've discussed them over at the Flint Rock Road area in the Concord area. So, Kyle, do you have any update on how that's going?
Fortunately, no update. To be honest, it's going to be the same update that we poked the legal department again. So basically, we have a scope of work that we've developed in conjunction with Lev and Lindsay to hire an outside title examiner to look at the Flint Rock Road to see if there's any sort of public access rights on them. Legal department has said before the town releases that, they need to really approve of it. And we're still waiting on their approval, and we've poked them quite a few times, and we'll continue to do so. But it is what it is, and we poked them again this week. So, and I'm trying to impress upon them that this is a priority of this committee. So hopefully they take it seriously at some point.
I'd just like to say that I biked that route last week. There is an intense motorcycle and ATV use
On Flint Rock?
in that area and going into the Hyannis Ponds Wildlife Management Area, which was purchased by the state for globally rare species. And I spoke to Chris Nappy, and he said, the Natural Resources Officer, he said that he had no authority in the Hyannis Ponds Wildlife Management Area, but they were working on the amount of, and when I say intense, it looks like highways.
Yep.
Yeah, that's always been a hot spot for, ATVs and dirt bikes and so forth, so,
Yeah, I mean, so the hope is that
yeah.
the title examination would come back with some sort of positive, yes, there are public rights on that road, and that would be a key link for the Cape Cod Pathways program. If that's not the case, we gotta figure out an alternative path, and Lev has some ideas about what that might look like, but we really need this answer before we can do anything else with the Pathways program. So that's why Pathways, there hasn't been a whole lot of updates in 6 months now or whatever, because this is the choke point right now. So we really need to get this issue resolved so we can move on to next steps.
The choke point is hearing from the legal department? What is wrong with the legal department?
They just hired another staffer, so hopefully the logjam will open up a little bit.
Yeah, it's ironic, the exercise was because of the log jams, is to seek outside assistance. So you can't really get to
Approve
that.
the contract, sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, so,
Actually, do you have any suggestion on how do we address the dirt bike enforcement thing? Because I see the scuffed up areas under the easements, power easement.
Yeah, enforcement's really not my bailiwick, so I wouldn't really be able to help out with that one, other than, what I hear from this group all the time, which is definitely true, is encouraging legal users discourages the illegal users, right? So, anything we can do to that end, I suppose, would be my only
there's a
suggestion.
number of, and I'll share the resource with the committee, the mountain bike club put together a white paper on this very topic, because a lot of the trails that the mountain bike club has gone through the trouble of getting permission to build them in a sustainable way, so they're not gonna be eroded. Once the motorized vehicles get on there, everything can be ruined.
Yeah.
So, some of those issues, like Kyle mentioned, is to get responsible users out, as become eyes on properties, the people that are walking or biking. And then, looking at some other, technologies and techniques, which is, education, and also that, so one thing could be done with when enforcement does occur and there's successes in actually, citing somebody using motorized vehicles out on municipal land, that aren't allowed is to publicize that. So let, whether the town has a way to do that as well. Other thing is might be to work with the vendors, because right now I think there's some people that sell these types of equipment in town that could have some kind of notification that, when you go in there, this thing that you're buying, there's nowhere on Cape Cod that you can legally use it unless you're on, unless you're on
Doesn't
private.
sound like a great sales tactic.
Well, I
Buy this,
wouldn't, they may not voluntarily want to do that. So on private land, it would be, of course, up to the
They
private
could have a
landowner.
sign outside.
I mean, when you go into the store to buy your cigarettes, there's a warning that tells you
Yeah.
these things. And I don't think the stores want to put up the warnings, but whether our licensing division could look at, having this information made available to people.
Perhaps we can have language boxed out on the website or webpage for the Open Space Committee, and maybe for conservation right up on top, say, motorized
Do you
ATVs.
think a lot of dirt bike users are looking towards the open space committee
Probably
webpage?
not.
Well,
Good
there's
point.
always boulders,
Yeah.
right?
It's something.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
free.
You can really say, hey, we
Yeah.
have that on.
Where, yeah.
Yeah, boulders, boulders.
Well, the same thing with shellfishing. People are illegally shellfishing, and they said, I didn't see the sign.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
still.
yeah.
My computer broke.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. See you next meeting for a robust discussion.
Before Kyle leaves, so what are the deliverables you need from the committee members?
Right now, nothing, they just need to,
Do their homework.
do their homework and just review all the materials, especially the summary sheets. But yeah, just
Yeah, you
to
have to
review all the
prioritize
materials, yeah, maybe look at the last plan.
So the comments that we might have on what you sent us this week we'll present next time.
Yeah, look at those, once you get the plan, your comments, I would say if you have comments, look at the plan in context of those comments, basically, and be ready to discuss that at the next meeting.
Okay, yeah, okay. We got a lot.
Yeah, okay, today's one.
So, fall walking weekend is coming soon, and thank you, Jenna, for a beautiful brochure and flyer.
Once again.
This brochure hopefully is on our website imminently.
Yes, I sent a reminder today, so hopefully tomorrow.
It wasn't today,
Yeah,
and
I sent a reminder today, so.
That'll be very helpful, because then we can send links to it to all the different constituencies, and then,
Do we have because there's like a QR code here, is that gonna,
that goes to our webpage.
webpage, okay.
And then on our webpage, I think the text of the announcement is up already. It's been up,
Yep.
announcing the dates. But as far as the details, that will be coming soon. But right now, the paper versions are here for folks to take and distribute. Bartley, you wanna tell us where we are in the world
Yeah, I
of
mean-
walking weekend?
Once again, it's time for Fall Walking Weekend. And so we have a nice mix of walks, and I thank everybody who signed up to lead. It's really wonderful to have, especially you two, to lead these walks, and then also inclusive BLT, who is always a big supporter of our mission, and I appreciate, being able to collaborate with them as well. So we have 9 walks or activities available for the weekend. So all we need is favorable weather, and anybody has any questions? Yeah?
I'd like to mention, on the Hyannis Harbor Walk, I had come up with the idea that we do some kind of dedication of the trail, but unfortunately, because it's not completed yet, the town didn't feel like it was a good idea. So we're gonna push that ahead to the spring,
Spring,
for
okay.
spring walking weekend. Now, I was directed to speak to Melissa Chartrand, who's the Arts and Culture Coordinator. So I've contacted her to put it on the arts website. And then she told me to contact Elizabeth Worthbane with the bid, the Business Improvement District, so that she will put it on the bid website. Then I contacted the Cape Codder, CODDAH newsletter to put it on their website. The Greatest Hyannis Chamber of Commerce was another suggestion. The Greater Hyannis Civic Association, I sent it to the Barnstable Patriot, the Boston Globe, and Hyannis News, and the Boston Herald. So,
Bravo.
yeah,
Yes,
so that
thank you.
hopefully we can get some momentum going, and then for the spring, to do some the reason I came up with this idea was because when I was going out and soliciting information about the open space plan, I was getting a lot of pushback. You know, the town doesn't care, the town doesn't listen, and I said, we need to highlight what the town is doing, and this new multi-use path that's out to Calmus Beach is a perfect example of a major project. And I got an email back today that they didn't use state or federal funds, it was all town funds. For the Hyannis Harbor Walk, I think we'll get some good. And then Chris had reached out to me for the walk at Meeting House Farm in West Barnstable, that the West Barnstable folks are excited about that. And we had a great turnout last year. There were
It's really a
like
good
almost 20 people on that
Yeah.
walk, so that's a good one.
Okay, well, just to round out your advertising program, I did drop the flyer to the woman at the Barnstable Fire Station.
Oh, good.
And then also, I'm getting it on the Cape Cod guidebook, which is online.
That's perfect, yeah.
Okay, and then I'm waiting to hear back from the Cape Cod.
Yeah, that's the one I sent to them.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you've already done it.
But maybe if someone
The whole
else
flyer?
does too, yes.
Or did you
And
just
that- and that
promote
was
the
one of the
Hyannis
issues
walk?
is when Jenna initially sent this out, when I did the attachment, it was too big a file. So she sent it again, so if you could send it directly to me, because every time I go into the one that you sent to Melissa Chartrand and I was CC'd, it comes back to the big one.
Yeah, I can send it directly to you.
Yeah, that would be,
Well, I
that
think once you have the link, once you have it posted on the website, you can just send a link,
correct,
and
but
hopefully it'll
But when
summarize.
Yeah,
when
I
I
mean,
checked before
I
I
just
left,
say-
because I was sending it out, I literally spent the whole afternoon, I drove over here and I could barely see because I'd been staring at the computer screen for too long.
Thank you, Doc.
Would you,
Good night, thank
Good night.
Okay, nice to meet
would
you.
would you be able to scan it as a PDF? Is that gonna take up less
I
memory?
compress the file so that there is a smaller version now, so I can send that around.
Could you send me one too, cause then I can,
I'll send it out to everybody.
okay.
And I think if people are also in other networks, like, I'll post it on my
Facebook.
personal Facebook,
Yeah.
but
Right,
um,
that's good.
any kind of networks that we have. I was asking people today about other online news sources. Like CCB Media, they have a way that you can go in but I needed the link and that's when I checked. And so as soon as that,
Uploads.
Great.
we're ahead of it, I think,
Yeah,
this
but I think
year.
it was, because I was starting to think about Boston and I was looking at Boston Globe, so I'm glad you already jumped on that.
I sent it to the editor,
Okay,
to the,
yeah.
that does the events,
Yeah.
calendars.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
And I should add, taking a cue from Doug on his urban walks in Hyannis, I was trying to conspire to have a walk that would end at the Zion Union Museum. And I'm working with former counselor Deborah Dagwan to see what they can conspire. The sidewalks aren't the best in that area, so we're just trying to find a way to make that come together.
Good idea, yeah.
For the spring, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. So if you have any suggestions or you're walking that area,
Great.
because it's flat, it's urban, and to twin it with a cultural feature, I think.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Maybe someday we could have, walks and museums in Barnstable. There's JFK, Maritime, the Railroad Museum is gonna get renovated, and there, anyways, I'm just saying that might be a way to work on some synergy that will.
Yeah, people do enjoy, doing something that's, culturally and historically interesting, and just, having the
Have
ability to
our own
just.
Freedom Trail,
Yep,
so we can lead you to all the different highlights.
Features, sure, good idea.
Bus station.
station.
Oh, that's something I wanted to bring up. With our open space plan
Yeah.
and kind of broadening the scope is the sidewalks and multi-use paths. I had a flat tire and I went to the bike zone
Yeah.
and
A flat
he's-
tire on your bicycle?
Yeah, on my bicycle. So I went to the bike zone to get my flat tire fixed.
Yeah.
And I was talking to the man and I was trying to get telling him, and I can bring some of these over there. He said that more than 20 people a day either come on the bus or the train to the transportation center. They come rent a bike at the bike zone and they don't know where to go. So they're putting the bikes on the car and going to Station Avenue in Yarmouth to get on the Cape Cod Rail Trail.
Yeah.
So we need to think about our network of multi-use paths, and I know that in the plan for North Street and South Street and Main Street, that there will be multi-use paths, and they will end up at the new multi-use path on Bursa's Way, and that will be a way before a bridge is built over Route 132 to get down to the service road to get, Sandwich has already completed their stretch of bike path along the service road. So that's something, kind of thinking, how are we gonna get people around and not constantly using cars?
Yeah.
Because the congestion here is bad.
Sure is. Yeah.
Chris?
I have a suggestion that after the open space, I know we have an intense series of meetings coming up, October 20th and 27th, and then the community meeting now on November 19th. But after the open space plan work is done at this committee level, perhaps on the agenda could be an invitation for a presentation on the status of the bike trail,
And then,
either from our DPW or the state or whoever's the point person, and it'll give a little perspective on what's been done and concerns about yours. How do we communicate to not only residents but travelers and visitors?
Very good.
Does that make sense?
Great sense.
Like Cape Cod Chamber too, I mean, how about doing something there? With,
I went on their website,
Yeah.
because I've been really trying to get, out of the box, and you have to be a member, so I don't know
Right.
if the town is a member of the Cape Cod Chamber. In order to post notices on their website,
and
you need
they've
to be
got
a
a,
member.
whole rack system, you can
I
put
have contact
brochures.
with their web person, so I can at least ask.
That would be fantastic.
Or, we could even drop off some of these flyers there.
Oh, yes, that's fantastic, though.
Yeah, but can we do that if we're not a member?
I don't know.
To be honest with you, they would want to showcase opportunities for people who stop by.
Yeah.
I think that it's
Yeah.
to the benefit of their office.
Yeah.
And at one time, when the Cape Cod Commission was managing this pathways and the walk programs. They were advertising also through the chamber. And I recall leading a walk at one time, and I was surprised at how many people were out of town from New York and wherever, and they conspired to make their, at that time it was Columbus Day weekend, long weekend vacation on the Cape, patterned after the walking weekend. They would spend a day in the Lower Cape and taking 2 walks there, the next day come and, start in maybe P-Town and Eastham, then go to Orleans and Harwich, and then work their way to Sandwich and Barnstable, and plan their vacation over going to the walking weekend. So, but at that time, the chamber was a strong partner with the Cape Cod Commission as things to do.
Yeah, and at that point, the fall walking weekend included the entire Cape.
That's
Yeah,
true.
So it was, so you had a lot to choose from, yeah.
Right? But we patterned after what they started, and it's worked out very well. It communicates with a naive person, how rugged the walk is, how long it is, or where to
Follow their
meet
format.
with. So it's, and it's very helpful to have the contact information if there's a rain date to say, hey, did it get canceled or whatever. Thank you.
Great, okay, next item, we kind of covered a lot of it. I can tell you, the geocaching folks are going to be releasing a new cache at Hathaway's Pond at the same time as the walk that I'm leading on. So it's not here in our flyer because they kind of have their own process. But I think what we'll end up getting is potentially some of them will show up and we're gonna recruit them onto the walk. For the same time there. Also, I heard from one of the folks that have been taking care of the caches around Hathaway's Pond that they are planning to hold it's called a cache in, trash out event. So the geocaching people are gonna come with gloves and trash bags and go around the trail network at Hathaway's Pond the weekend after our walking weekend. They had some scheduling problems, but it's never too late to pick up trash.
And I know that Barnstable Land Trust is doing one on Saturday at Calmus Beach. I got the notice from BLT.
Okay, a cleanup, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this fall is definitely cleanup time.
Okay, so, we don't have sent to it today. I think, Farley, is there anything on open space applications that seek community preservation?
Community, yeah, let's see. Okay, so Mill Pond, is, draft CR for Mill Pond project is in progress. And once the draft is finalized, it'll go to the town council. The closing for Smith's Creek conservation restriction will be scheduled once land court provides required documents. The final draft of the CR for the Katuah High Ground project is in progress. And updated, yep, so that's that, and an application was received from BLT requesting $307,500 for open space funds to preserve the ecologically important retired cranberry bog property consisting of 25.74 acres within the Great Marsh and Barnstable Harbor watershed, addressed 301 Parker Road, West Barnstable. So the total purchase price is $615,000, and BLT applied for Mass Conservation Partnership grant in June of 2025 to help fund the acquisition. They will grant a conservation restriction to the town of Barnstable to ensure the land is preserved and perpetuated. That was passed. Say the P word. Perpetuity, 3 times, really fast.
Perpetuity.
Okay, so that's what I have for you.
That's
Okay,
good.
I got it then.
Chris, is there anything else you'd like to add?
You skipped over the meeting dates, did you want to?
Skipped over, what did I skip over?
2026 meeting dates.
Oh,
Meeting dates.
meeting dates.
Yeah, proposed meeting dates.
Oh, okay, well, let's hear about the proposed meeting dates.
Yeah, here they are.
If you want to check them out and then make a motion to approve them, or if anyone has suggested changes.
So, oh, then you got all of my days on here.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Yeah, that's good, yeah.
Very
Except
efficient.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, I had
Part of the
a
cleanup.
question, our folks from the public were here earlier, asked about, they thought the meeting was at 5 and it was at 5:30. Is there a problem if we started at 5, or should we just keep it at 5:30? I didn't know what the background and history
Usually
of.
that's how you have a meeting.
Then,
Typically, there are 2 meetings on a night like today. Well, because we meet on this committee meets on the second Monday of the month. It gets adjusted on a couple of the months where there's holidays in consideration. So for October, this committee has opted to go with the meeting 1 week before the second week, and Sandy Neck opted to go with the weekend, with the Monday after the holiday. So there is no conflict for today, but ongoing, there's a meeting at 7:30, 7 o'clock for Sandy Neck. We meet
Yeah.
at 5:30 and 7 o'clock is Sandy Neck.
So, I mean, would you wanna be here at 5?
I'm just saying, if we started earlier, is that a problem for anybody?
Well, I would say for members of the public that work,
Yeah, that
good.
might be a
Five
little
is
tight.
tough.
you know, I think we should accommodate them by starting at 5:30.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with Doug.
Yeah.
I agree with Doug that it's
Yeah.
more public friendly to have it at 5:30.
5:30.
If people work traditional hours, 9 to 5. Not everybody does, I understand that.
All right, something to think about. Okay, all right, do we need to approve or vote this, or, yeah? Okay, everyone had a chance to look at the dates? I didn't
I
see
move
any.
that we approve the meeting dates for 2026.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, I guess I didn't, anything else that I missed?
I think you should let the committee know, or let the public know, that you and I had a conversation about coming to the town council meeting on Thursday.
Okay, I actually have an engagement this Thursday, so I would love to do it at the next one.
Okay, so not this time.
But we want to update them annually with what we're up to.
So, the town council is looking to bring committee chairs to speak at town council meeting for 3 to 5 minutes. Just, what have we been up to, what are your priorities and all. So, I was asked to invite someone. I invited Jake Dewey, the chair of the zoning board of appeals, who chairs a regulatory committee, and I had asked Lev if he'd be interested as someone who chairs an advisory committee. But I thought it was particularly good timing because you could pitch the walking weekend, unless you want to have somebody else do it for you.
Well, would anybody like to step up and represent us on Thursday?
I don't mean to dissuade you from doing it in 2 weeks, but having it right before our walking weekend would be just, particularly good timing.
Not to put anyone on the spot. I guess we'll just let that opportunity move on. Oh. But if anybody wants to talk afterwards, and
It's this Thursday?
This Thursday, I mean, of course, I can see if there's a schedule for a following one. I just thought,
Yeah,
there's so
no, I
much
agree.
good news to tell. The signs are being ordered that Doug's been working on. We're making intense meeting schedule to accommodate the update to our town's open space and recreation plan. Fall walking weekend is not only planned, but ready to go. So I just thought that's good news to tell. Sorry that you have a conflict. You available, Farley?
This is coming Thursday. Yes, I can do it.
wonderful.
Okay.
And we'll coach you.
Okay, yeah, everybody, give me a little, what time?
You can watch the candidate.
The meeting starts at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
There'll be the opening of the meeting, roll call, pledge of allegiance, and then moment of silence and public comment. So it depends on how much traffic we have at the
Yes.
microphone, and then sometime soon after that will be updates from boards, committees, and commissions. And that would be just like a abbreviated update, just say our committees, these are our committee members, we've been meeting, and like I said, walking weekend, open space, signs.
Okay.
Do
Yep, well, anybody wants to provide me with material, I'm delighted to
I'll
receive
send you
that.
some talking points and
Yep,
we'll put Chris in the loop if
Okay,
there's something
that'd
else
be
she can think of that
sweet,
we shouldn't leave out.
okay. All right, so,
What you think they like to hear.
those things I already.
thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I could ask any committee, but I
Yeah.
just, I have
I get it, Chris.
close
No, it's
relationship here.
Really
and-
good.
But like I said, it's particularly good time.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you. Thanks for being willing to do so.
Okay, yep.
That you're fully appointed, you don't have any vacancies. I think that, and that you have,
Yep.
we're not missing any meetings
Great,
due to
well, I guess
quorum.
actually they might be reading my name
Oh, that's
for the
fine.
first time, yeah.
First
So,
read.
Yeah.
To be reappointed.
To reappoint, yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
That's fine. It just shows that this is an active committee.
Right,
Is it-
well,
It shouldn't
yeah,
go
but
away.
I was supposed to, maybe you were?
Okay,
Still reading.
Chris, anything else?
No, unless you want to give the update on the St. Tuit Preserve meeting.
I don't have anything on that, but do you have something?
You want a copy of it? Or maybe
Send-
Tracy, the
That's usually
meeting of-
Tracy has something.
Yes, a walk at the St. Tuit Preserve was scheduled for Wednesday, and with the upcoming forecast looking not so walking friendly, they bumping it to the following Wednesday. So the St. Tuit Preserve committee members. And I should say that Grace Rogers has been a helpful liaison with that planning. She took a new position with the town, so with asset management. David Anthony's without his assistant. So that's an update there. So that's moving along as expected and being sensitive to the weather. I think that's all the news I have.
Perfect. At this point, I would entertain.
Do we want to say
Anything?
anything about the, the event that we hosted,
Oh, yeah.
with Tex?
Landowner.
Yeah, the landowner, I mean, because
Yeah, I
I
just
thought
touched on
it
it
was.
briefly, but I think it was, I think there was almost 20 people at the
Yeah.
event.
Oh, that's good.
This is the landowner forum that was
Yeah.
held recently, and Kelly did a great job
Yeah,
explaining a lot of
yes.
benefits of open space, benefits to the landowners as well as benefits to the community and to the town. Mark
It was really
Robinson
interesting.
kind of covered a lot of the nuts and bolts on all the tax breaks that folks could get if they are willing to protect their land. And I'm not sure if we got any customers at the
Yeah,
end,
I
if
mean, Kelly, if
anybody
you had any
approached you with
feedback?
an interest in doing so.
It started a conversation with a couple of people, so.
That's great.
See how that goes.
Right, and of course, because we had it recorded, we would like to put it on our website as a resource so that people who were not able to attend would easily find that in a link somehow.
That's great, good idea. Is that something you can do, Jenna?
Yep.
Terrific. Good news.
Yes, Kelly?
I didn't know whether you were interested in hearing just a few of the project updates from like the conservation restrictions that are.
Sure.
Yes, there's,
Actually, just while we were talking about that, I wondered whether it was worth including the things that you
Yes.
mentioned at the town council meeting, that we had the workshop and that it's available for people to watch if they didn't get to see it on the day, so.
Kudos. That's good.
I'll start with the two town conservation restrictions, the super old one, the Prince and Harju, because I had received back the comments from the town attorney and returned those to the state, and I did receive back some edits from the state. So we are now in the final stages of getting the approval for signatures for those, so I'm expecting that any day now. So that is great, so I'll let
The good champagne for those.
Definitely.
And then we have approval for local signatures for the Katuitt High Ground conservation restriction. So that is with the town at the moment, getting town signatures and BLT board signatures. So we'll be looking to have that recorded straight after the closing in October, later this month. And then I came to you, I guess, meeting before last, and presented the Woodland Bogs conservation restriction and the Mill Pond Preserve conservation restriction. So those have also received town attorney comments and edits now, which is great. We've had a lot of response from the town attorney's office recently, which has been really great. So those are now both with the state for approval, hoping to really get those finalized in the coming month or so as well. I did want to let you know though, because when I presented the Woodland Bogs conservation restriction, we talked about one of the allowed uses was for a limited agricultural use for growing native plants on the site. And that has been removed from the CR now. There was a little bit of confusion where when the conservation restriction was reviewed by the CPC, they didn't see that clause in there, and so they're not prepared to support it with that in there. And so we either had to delay the project or we had to remove it, and we don't have time to go back for a review to get to the closing. So we just had to remove it from the CR. And so I just wanted to let you know because we did talk about it at that meeting. So other than that, the Mill Pond Preserve conservation restriction, which includes the easement for the town to use the property for the restoration. We've been fine tuning that language a little, but it remains, very much at the same intent. But just wanted to give you an update on that. And so, those are both with the state for approval. And I think that was all I had.
Thank
Good
you.
news to tell,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else I forgot?
what about the Cranberry Bog update?
Centerville Bogs.
Centerville Bog.
The Centerville Bog? I don't have anything new. I've sent occasional requests to planning to find out from the legal if there's any change or update in the status.
Has the legal done anything about that yet? Do you know?
No, I don't think they intend to.
No, I thought they were gonna make some determination about it.
I'm not clear about, explain it, maybe
I think the action from when we talked about it before was that they were going to create a clear policy for the town.
going forward, but
For
not,
chapter
Yeah.
61, but
yes, that is in the works, but But no, I thought it was between the current landowner and the neighbors.
But didn't the town approve of something that they shouldn't have approved of or something like that? I can't
It was
remember.
actually,
They didn't, there was a right of first refusal that didn't happen or something.
my understanding is that it was the property owner's attorney who had the obligation to bring it to other boards, planning board, conservation and all. That didn't happen, but it's not the town's obligation to do that, it was the seller's attorney.
Okay. May I entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're done. Thank you.
Everybody.